A decade ago, banks relied on huge campaigns and celebrity faces. Today, one app review on an app store can move adoption faster than a multi-million rupee campaign, right? And that's the reality of reputation in today's landscape. Hi, I'm Rachita Sharma, VP Strategy and Client Success at FTA Global, and you're watching another engaging episode of Brand Perspective series at Marketing Stack 2025. In financial services, trust is the real currency. Customers don't just hear from other brands, they hear each other. And which is why user-generated content, reviews, and reputation, they all sit at the center of growth. To dive into this, I have Mr. Samar Kagalwalla, the head of brand and marketing at CSB Bank. Over the past 20 years, Samar has led narratives at Onsurity, AU Small Finance Bank, Yes Bank, RBL, and HDFC Bank. He has built campaigns that drive trust and growth, and he knows how customer voice can actually reshape a brand. Samar, welcome to the podcast. And I hope you're going to have a super interesting session on UGC reviews and reputation. How are you feeling today?
No, absolutely delighted. And thank you so much for inviting me. Correct. This is a very, very interesting topic.
Right.
And when I got it for the first time, I said I need to talk on this.
Great.
So thank you once again for making such an amazing attempt and inviting all of us.
Great, thank you. I'm looking forward to your insights. So we'll set the context from the shifts and the foundations that's happening. So you have seen the industry up close for 2 decades.
Yep.
How have customer voice and reputation actually shifted in banking and financial services over that period of time?
So, the best way to look at this is which is the most vulnerable segment when it comes to trust.
Right.
Correct? It's the senior citizen. Correct?
Right.
And I keep observing the banking patterns of how my dad does, how my mom does, how my uncles do. Correct? So, very recently, my dad wanted to, book an FD. Correct? And I always keep referring him to which banks give better rates and, stuff like that. So, previously he used to tell me कि इसका branch किधर है, correct? And he would say, okay, let me go to the branch and speak to the manager and I'll figure out whether I want to do it or not.
Right.
Surprisingly, this time he was telling me, let's Google it and see the reviews.
Right.
Correct? Let me just read what people are spoken about the product and how the service is. At least it will help me to give a context before I, want to book an FD or book something.
Right.
So I was very surprised that someone who would rely on familiar opinions is actually trusting strangers to build the trust matrix.
Right.
Technically, we would associate that to the younger generation or the social media generation, which looks out for validation from strangers.
Right.
But even today, the categories which trusted familiarity through peer-to-peer familiarity to known people are actually looking for reviews and stars and opinions to take a decision on a product like banking. So it's no longer restricted to the food delivery apps and to the e-com apps. Today even banking is part of that category.
Right.
It's part of the consumer behavior where you have to build trust. It's no longer the brand campaigns, but it's the stars that you get, which is playing a very, very critical role into this whole reputation management or the growth matrix basis reputation management.
Right. And yeah, agree, because, this is a default way of, especially in the lifestyle or consumer goods.
Absolutely.
Your UGC feels, like a default way of getting the brand, acceptability. Now, in BFSI, what do you think that makes UGC effective in a category as complex as this? Because at the same time you also have to make sure that credible reviews are coming and they are providing the right set of information.
Sometimes what happens is that we try to look at reviews from too much of compliance angle or a tick mark angle.
Right.
Correct? Like I've seen even in the banks that I've worked that there will always be a team who's reviewing the reviews and the immediate reaction is let's act on it. Let's ensure that there's an instant reply that goes. Let's get this query solved. But cumulatively now there's so many tools available which can help us do listening, correct? Which will actually help us to do like a free R&D. Okay,
Right.
what is really what the customer is looking out when he's asking me these things? If there's a regular complaint of if it's coming for a particular process, particular product, correct? So today banking is not left out from any other category that works on this. For example,
Right.
in an e-com category, correct? You will have about the person who's coming in delivering complaints or stories about that. The parcel in which it's coming, correct? The experience of the product on surfing, everything. What's different in your bank, correct? You go
Right.
to a branch, you meet a person, you may have a review for that person, correct? You have the welcome kit coming to you, you may have review for the packaging, correct? You don't like the store, correct? You may have review for the store, correct? So it's exactly same as we look at other retail distribution channels or the categories. It's
Right.
just that the product of the bank is money, correct? And wherever there is money, there has to be trust.
Right.
And hence this entire ecosystem functions in exactly the same manner as other categories. And in fact, there's a huge compliance angle to this, correct?
Right.
Which I started off saying that sometimes we look at that from the compliance angle more, because today even the regulator has got very strict about the complaints that come as in the form of reviews.
Right.
And we internally have to work a lot to ensure that every customer is satisfied. So technically the banks are in the competitive space, and this definitely becomes a growth engine for us.
Great. Now, these reviews, they drive advocacy. They help you with the crisis. And you mentioned about the lots of tools. You can do the listening. You can understand the sentiment and make a decision. Now, reviews per se, especially in the BFSI category, they are now the growth levers of how a consumer adopts to a certain product or not, basis the review, right? You gave your personal
Yeah.
example, and it holds true for all of us. Now, how should brands think about building those right systems to track those reviews effectively and then learn from those reviews?
So definitely BFSI, particularly the growing BFSI segment. And when I say BFSI, I'm more focusing on banks right now, because there are FinTechs, there are NBFCs, there are insurance companies.
Right.
Everyone works in a different manner. But typically banks have legacy, infrastructure of tech also in place. Banks need to little bit get their learnings from their FinTech friends, correct? Because they are more nimble. They use very state-of-art technology to analyze the voice in a much efficient manner than what currently happens in the banking ecosystem.
Right.
So there, of course, there, in my previous organization, we used to use tools which used to give us tremendous L&D and quality checks, correct? From the review, from the process, from the product, from the adoption perspective. I think that's what lacks in the banking ecosystem right now. However, we are evolving. Banks are evolving. They are using a lot of tools now to get this right.
Right.
Now, once they get it right, it's important to ensure that today every banking product that gets sold, correct, there's a story behind it, correct? And it's very important that we as marketers are there picking up these stories and telling it to the right set of consumers or target in the manner desired. For example, today if I give a loan, correct? Loan, the typical product communication that is to come for loans was get your dream achieved with this loan.
The standard line.
It may sound very cliche, but technically, if you see down on heart, that's the right thing. Today, if I want to buy a car and the bank who gives me the loan is actually fulfilling my wish or a dream to buy that particular car, correct? Now, at that moment, correct, if I'm able to send a very smart nudge to talk about the loan experience, correct, it can actually become a great lever for me to take that to a lot of other customers who are in that similar decision-making circle and use that as a nudge for them to take my loan,
Right.
correct? So every product that a bank gives to a customer is backed by a story. It's about how quickly can we capture that story and use it for helping other customers to take that journey with the bank. I think that is going to be very critical, and I think the tools are going to play a extremely important, role in elevating bank to this level.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned the role of stories because we were just discussing about the bank's ecosystem. There's so many of products, right?
Yeah.
And in your previous experience, also you've turned, say for example, SMBs into your brand advocates, right?
Correct.
So, what do you think that it takes to move someone from being just users to the promoters of the brand?
So, see, it's a very interesting question, particularly in the B2B space.
Right.
Correct? Today, the B2B space is extremely competitive. Correct? And today, every customer that we come across, and I'll tell you the example of my previous organization, Onsurety. It was a new brand. Correct? In the space which is dominated by big players. Correct? We were in employee healthcare. And when you are in employee healthcare, you have the biggest of the brands who have dominated that segment for years.
Right.
Correct. Now, when you as a brand want to play in that zone, one is to do your brand campaigns, branded content, ads, correct? But that can only elevate the awareness matrix. Correct. Today, awareness is not the deficit. Correct. Trust is in deficit.
Right.
When you want trust to build in, this is where your little testimonial, little nudge to the founder and founder responding to that thing, correct, to a particular comment, post, makes a lot of difference. Like I remember one campaign we had done. It was not a campaign, but it was an effort to feel customer close to us. All the top management, all the leadership of Onsurety, correct, my previous organization, we decided that let's take on LinkedIn, and whichever are the complaints, instead of a handle responding to that, a brand handle, let's as CXOs respond to these queries and get that solved. When we took this upon us, correct, little different step than what a typical brand handle would do, we need not always solve the query in the manner in which the customer would want, because there are some regulations to go about. But customer appreciates that someone in the bank, a real human, was actually addressing that query.
Right.
And some of these attempts, correct, actually build that trust in that space which is so highly competitive, particularly the B2B space in finance, correct, that it actually can lead to a good referencing or a growth, organic growth model that we talk about.
Right, makes sense. Now from the crisis handling perspective, negative reviews are absolutely unavoidable, right?
Yep.
And customers tend to make those decisions
Correct.
reading those reviews. So in a trust driven sector, like you mentioned, BFSI, what's the right way to approach them without either ignoring or overreacting?
So, particularly in the service sector, this is very prominent because product is touch and feel, correct? If this cup is broken, I can show that the cup is broken.
Right.
But if I have not got a service in the rightful manner by a relationship manager, it's very difficult for a common man or common person to articulate that. Correct?
Right.
So the easiest way is go and talk about it, the experience on socials. And it's with all of us, correct? We are not devoid of that. We also do that with other brands. The good part is, which I feel as a marketer, is that at least someone is talking about me. The day someone does not talk about me is the most tricky part. Correct? That means the customer does not consider you valuable to be spoken positive or negative. Correct? So as a brand manager or someone who's a custodian of brand, never shy away from negatives. That's the first thing. Second, now when there's a negative comment that's come, correct, and it can be from various parts of the banking that could happen or the service that could happen. First thing is to empathetically revert back to the customer or reach out to the customer with a little bit of empathy. It's not about right or wrong, correct? Like I said, not everyone is right always, whether it's customer or the service provider.
True.
But as a provider, it's my duty to reach out empathetically back to the customer. Hence, empathy is extremely important, correct, in a service-related customer feedback that we talk about. How do we convert empathy into reality? Correct, one is of course by responding, and other is by resolving. Correct, the tact that is available to resolve a particular query, correct, plays a very important role in customer building trust with me. Correct. Now again here the techs and the tools play extremely important role.
Right.
To keep customer updated that at what stage that complaint is, what is happening with that complaint. Just give the customer a little comfort that I am in control of things. The day customer feels he's not in control of things, he'll again go to social media and troll you.
Right.
But the day I either DM the customer or reach out to the customer through WhatsApp or through email and keep them updated, correct?
Right.
They feel a lot more control
Right.
of stuff.
Right.
I'll give a very classic example. I recently bought a car.
Hmm.
Typically, when we used to buy the car, correct? After buying the car and when the registration happens with the RTO, it used to be that 15 din lagega. Correct? At 15 days, you do not know what's happening, whether it's dispatched, not dispatched. If you see every government service now, correct, keeps you updated of what's happening at every stage.
Right.
Correct? Very like as soon as I got the car, within a week I got the message, your registration is done and your card has gone to the postal Indian Post for dispatch.
Right.
I'm actually in control that what's going to happen next. Correct?
Right.
So these small things that happens around you helps us to build our own ecosystem as a service provider.
Right.
That let the customer be in control of the situation rather than you dictating how the customer should react. If you're able to achieve that, I think you're much nearer to managing a negative complaint.
Right, agree. And that holds true across the categories.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, talking about across the categories, so consumer categories are, at the majority,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
influencer advocacy is everywhere there,
Correct.
right? They have it as a tool to maintain the brand sentiment. Now, do you think influencers have a place in financial services reputation strategies? And if yes, what that would look like?
Anyone who is out there and dealing with money or uses money is an influencer for me. Because unfortunately my product is money.
True.
Correct? Now, in the initial conversation, we said that, people have started trusting strangers a
Right.
lot for validating their trust. Financial segment is the highest prone segment for influencer where they can give a particular opinion and take the brand in whichever direction they wish to take.
Right.
Correct? Take a simple example of stock investing or investing as general as a category. There are so many influencers which are there,
Right.
correct? Which may be right or wrong, we don't know. Correct? But there are so many brand names that come into it, so many mutual fund names that come into it. Correct? How much do they have control on that? Correct? Is very important.
Right.
Today, a WhatsApp message by me telling you that why don't you buy this stock or why don't you invest in this mutual fund?
Right.
I become an influencer for you.
True.
Correct? Like that, there are so many groups around, correct, which are influencers are extremely critical segment for BFSI as a category. It's not only as a growth but also as a service feedback that comes. There are so many influencers who do comparisons of products. Correct? When they're comparing the product, I do not have control on what are they going to compare with. Correct?
Right.
But I have to control that. Sometimes the brand is put positively, sometimes the brand is not put positively.
Right.
Correct? So influencers, extremely important category. The most critical category in the entire influencer ecosystem is influencers because they influence you on your money. Correct?
Right.
And that can lead to a lot of repercussions on which you may not have a fallback. In that, a brand may be involved, brand may not be involved. Correct? So whenever we are also doing a influencer campaign, we try to avoid ourselves going into any advocacy. Correct? We usually use influencers or influencers to more build awareness rather than advocacy. So we got to be very careful about where influencers work. And like I said, influencer need not be always those 5,000 followers and 10,000 followers influencer. Correct? A community doctor could become an influencer as to whom they should bank with and whom they should trust with. Correct? People take advice from various people.
Right.
Correct? So it's important that we manage this in the rightful manner. Again, all boil down to what is the empathy level, correct? What is the knowledge level of my person who's speaking to the community?
Right.
And it's a integrated ecosystem. It's not like I can solve this and that will not lead to this. Correct? It has a multiplier effect.
Right.
So coming to your question, yes, it's extremely important, and I think BFSI, including the regulator, is doing a considerably good job out there.
But considering the recent rules and regulations RBI has put on these influencers, do you think it's a wise choice to be working with like with the select few, like for Angel One, I think they're working with 3 to 4
Correct.
influencers, and they are their brand face. And if you look at their YouTube channel, it's only them. So do you consider diversifying that strategy to a select few who are the best makers, and then rather than putting more and more
So
influencers in
see,
the
honestly, like I said, in my personal opinion, I would not use influencer to promote any of my product. Correct.
Okay.
For that, I would use my own teams to act as a influencer for the brand.
Okay.
Correct. So for me, employer branding takes over that role.
Okay.
Correct. I've always believed that if my own people can't talk about me, what can I make others talk about? Correct. So for me, that's my highest and the most credible source of influencer that's present. That's the 8,000 team members that the bank has today. Is bigger than any of the influencer I could, hire or get on board. But having said that, specifically to a question, if ever we wish to do a dedicated influencer campaign, yes, definitely we would do a thorough cred check on what is the content. Today again, there are tools available. There are a lot of
Right.
things that are available to do this. We also work closely with IIGC, correct, to know that what are the ranking of the influencers, correct. We also work with a lot of regional influencers, correct. So we definitely do a thorough credit check. But if you ask me that would you want to work with an influencer, I would say yes, but those influencers will be working for CSB and that are my own team. So I would rather take that route rather than going for anyone externally whose credibility could shake up for any of the reasons.
And I believe that's a nice strategy as well, because I
Yes.
think that way you'll be able to create more, plausible experiences for the consumers. That'd be more relatable. As
Yeah, I
well.
mean, see, what happens inside is what gets translated
True.
outside, correct?
Yeah.
A culture of empathy inside translates into a culture of empathy with the customer, correct? And this is proven ages, companies per companies, correct? What you do inside is what translates outside,
Right.
correct?
Right.
Happens at our home, correct? If you had a bad day in the morning, your whole day outside will also go bad.
Right.
Correct. So it's a very human tendency to work with, and that's why I feel that again the role of HR into building a brand and converting that into a positive service experience is as important as a CX head or a marketing head or a business head, and hence the functions are very integrated. Correct. It's no longer standalone department that you're talking to.
Right.
Correct. Tomorrow, if I'm sitting in an HR conference, I can talk about employer branding, how it can be a growth lever as well. Like how we're sitting today and talking about how service experience and reputation and reviews could turn into a growth engine. That
Right.
shows that how organizations have put impetus on all departments working towards a common goal.
Agree. Now, when it comes to brand building and reputation management, right? Most often or not, they are used interchangeably, right? From your perspective, how do you separate these two in practice, and where do they overlap?
So, in my opinion, previously, reputation used to be built by campaigns. Like, certain brands in FMCG category because we remember that campaign, we remember, correct, a particular ad, we remember, whatever they could come up with. So, reputation was built by campaigns. Now, your brand and reputation are built by screenshots. Correct? What you share on that screenshot or that review actually builds your reputation to a much higher level, correct, than what an
Yeah.
ad campaign would do.
Right.
Correct? You understand, whenever I'm doing a campaign on any of the social channels, I need to write sponsored. The day I write sponsored, the trust factor goes down. Correct? My reach will increase, my awareness metrics will increase, but my trust factor will go down.
Agree.
But likewise, the organic bite by my customer talking about my brand will give me much higher trust factor. And when we talk that the currency of trust is the most valuable today, I rather put my money and bucks and effort behind something that's building that currency
Right.
than something that's building just an awareness matrix which has no relevance.
Right.
Correct? So I'm not against doing a branded content or an ad. Don't take me otherwise. That's extremely important for a bank or a brand like us to increase my awareness quotient. But when we talk of reputation, correct? Reputation by itself means it's backed by trust. Correct? Otherwise, the word reputation would not exist. correct? It will become awareness, correct? So that reputation, when it's backed by trust, I need to ensure that the screenshots are more in my favor than anyone else's.
Right. And I think the screenshots are the perfect example of the raw feedback.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, I have a question over that. These raw feedback, these screenshots are everywhere, right? We are very vocal. One negative experience, we are out on X and we are, sharing our thoughts. Now, how do you take that raw input from customers and then you turn it into stories that actually build brand equity?
So, see, what we do is, and now, of course, I'm not getting into the specific of the tools, but what we do is every month, and has been a practice even in my previous organization, we used to take all the feedbacks, convert into word clouds, correct? And figure out what are the important things that customer is talking about, correct? Now, one is to solve the query. That's a tactical part of it. And other is to change the perception about the brand around that problem, correct? And that is where my storytelling comes. Correct. So today there are so many campaigns that we put service in the center and try to build it up. Correct. Sometimes we realize that it's not about the customer and solving it the perception for the customer. Sometimes it's also the education of my own teams who's solving it for the customer. So sometimes L&D becomes a very focal point for me to solve an eventual customer experience. So investing in L&D, investing in tools, building Insta stories, employee branding. Correct. The tag to resolve the story, the tag to resolve a complaint, everything works in tandem for me to convert that into a positive story for you. Correct. Because it's not about just me solving your X or a Twitter, query that you put to me, but converting that into an experience which will help me even to cater to other customers. Correct, is more important for me. So like I said, it's like a free R&D for me. The more I can consume myself into these queries, the more better I will get with my storytelling. Correct? Is it easy? Definitely not. Correct? Because it is so granular. Every platform has different challenges. Every customer speaks different language.
Right.
And that's why I feel some of the tools that have come in are a great boon for marketers. Correct? Where you can just click a button and they'll try and give you all the analysis, sentiment analysis, word clouding, even the predictive analysis that they do, that which comments could lead to which problem. Correct? And particularly the role of AI that gets played there, correct? Is extremely useful for categories which have bulk transactions, correct? Where every day you transact for money. Every UPI transaction has a story behind it, correct?
Right.
Where are they spending? Whom are they spending with? What is the amount, correct?
Right.
It just makes it so relevant, correct? Right. And there is a challenge, but there is also an opportunity.
Also an opportunity to create all these this raw data, this noise into something very significant signals that can help the brand, right? And of course, tech will play a major role, especially with the AI capability of catering the feedback at scale.
Yes.
And implementing that into the listening, the sentiment analysis, the voice search. So I think that is going to play a
that's a very valid point that you're making. Now, I'll give a classic example.
Yeah.
Typically, what happens is, when you take a loan and your EMI is overdue, you will get an SMS next day. Your EMI is overdue, please pay or your services will stop. That's a standard template that follows.
Right.
There is a reason why customer is not able to pay. Correct? If I can use my intelligence or AI intelligence to figure out from the transaction of the customer with my bank, suddenly in last 10 days compared to this previous transactions, correct? The last 10 days, the transactions have fallen. That means the customer is into some sort of a problem. And before the EMI date, I can send a nudge saying that, hey, if you need any help to ensure that EMI is timely paid, correct, do reach out to us and we could be of help. Even if the EMI is overdue, correct, the customer has lesser probability of going on a social channel or any of my service channels and complaining that, you guys didn't call me, did nothing, just send me an SMS and cut my service.
Right.
Correct? Now, this is where my transaction data, this is where my predictive analysis, this is where my communication engine all need to work in tandem to give this effective nudge to a customer, because no one does not, I'm not saying, I'm like trying to be too nice, but I would give all the benefit to the customer on his intent to pay the money. correct? So if there's a skip, it's important as a brand. I just don't make it like a tick mark saying that oh SMS bheja ke nahi,
Right.
oh email gaya ke nahi,
Right.
correct? And if I'm able to use tools to figure out that 90% of the customer intent is right, but they need a nudge sometimes that hey, you know what, take 5 days more but pay it on the right time, correct? If I'm able to move to that stage, I think I'll be doing a great service for the brand, where I use the opportunity of servicing and positive reviews to build it.
Right. So, Brian, that would be like a brilliant example of using the predictive intelligence, building the empathy
Correct.
with the customer, maintaining the trust, and then obviously scaling the nuances with the tech. I feel that is the future. I think that's where
Absolutely.
we are all
I mean,
headed.
AI is going to play a big role not to make things faster. A lot of times people feel, oh, AI will make things faster.
Will make you
I don't think
efficient,
so.
yeah.
It will make it fairer. It will try to give everyone equal chance to participate in the process. And this is exactly that. The intent of the customer is to pay.
Right.
But maybe his order that he was supposed to receive, that cash flow hasn't come on time.
Yeah.
Correct? Or his salaries got delayed for whatever reasons. Correct? By 5 days. If I show empathy at that point of time and extend that date of 5th of that month to 10th, and customer is able to pay on time and his CIBIL score does not get impacted, gives me a much better reputation with the customer who considers me a more fair player. Correct? And not a fast player. Correct? I rather be fair than always be fast. Yes, my SMS has gone immediately, so I'm fast, but I'm not being fair. Correct? And this is that little difference that AI will bridge. And the day we work towards look at AI as being a fairer tool than a faster tool, I think we'll achieve what the real sense of AI is.
That's a brilliant thought, Samar. I think I loved your take on this. Now, we'll talk about the playbooks and the mindset because that's what we are now discussing across all the sessions. I think it's all about how we're building the categories, how we're building a system to work across, right? Now, if you were designing a reputation playbook of sort, right? We name it anything, for 2030, what are the non-negotiables you'd put in it?
See, non-negotiable, like I said, always be on. It's absolutely non-negotiable. Correct?
Right.
Customer should be able to tell you their concerns, their feedback at any point of time and any of the touch points that exist for your brand.
Right.
If I'm able to achieve that, I think I've been, again, fair to my customer. Correct? Secondly, what's my response time to the customer? We always talk of response time. We believe that kya farak padta hai? Like I said, being fast is important, but being fairer is more important. But that fast is important.
Right.
Correct. I just can't be fair and tell customer that after 6 days I'll tell you when his due date is already overdue.
Right.
So to achieve that fastness, correct, what are the process and the procedures and the tech that I need to build in? Correct, is going to be extremely and more critical for 2030 because you also will have a great play of AI, particularly agentic AI. Correct.
Right.
Currently we are too much stressed on agents, but we need to move to the agentic mode, where the tool itself determines the problem, itself gives you a solution, itself tries to implement it for you.
Right.
When that happens and when the real efficiency happens. Correct? And third is absolutely build killer teams who are extremely empathetic. I know that has nothing to do with tools, nothing to do with brand, nothing to do with product and customer. But I personally believe that humans will play a much larger role in the empathy side of the process or the transaction.
Right.
Correct? Than what AI could achieve in next 5 years. Correct? AI will do everything else for you, but it will leave that last 20% to you, saying that now it's up to you, buddy. Correct? Do it the best you can. At that point of time, I need my team to be the strongest in the market. So it's an off point, but I feel it's going to be an extremely critical point.
Important. It's very critical.
Correct. For ensuring all the above things happen well.
Right. Right. And we as marketers, we tend to get, lost in all these metrics and ROI, and we just think from the brand perspective. But especially say, the empathy word that you mentioned, I mean, it's very important, especially in the BFSI sector, because someone's hard-earned money. And I love the take where you mentioned maybe, he didn't mean to miss on his EMI,
Yeah.
but what is it that, how can I make his life easier is where I would want to use the tech. I think that's a brilliant thought.
No, in fact, the word UGC itself, if we rearrange, correct, to GUC, correct, from user generated content to genuine user content, I think we are solving the problem.
Right.
Correct? Because then we are talking of empathy. Genuine word by itself, you giving the doubt or benefit of doubt to the other person and being in their shoes.
Right.
And I think the faster we reach from UGC to GUC, I think we'll be able to achieve what we are discussing here as to how, reviews and reputations and all become your growth levers.
Right. Great. Now, when it comes to UGC, and hopefully it will be GUC in the future, and reviews, what are the right metrics to prove the business impact? Because when it comes to across the categories, every CMO would want to measure the ROI. But when it comes to these reputation loops, review loops, what are the right metrics one should look at?
When you talk of review loops and reputation loops, one of the important metrics would be the referrals. If I'm going for my business metrics, correct? Every happy customer should be able to give me one good referral, which may or may not turn to a customer, but I should be able to tell my friend or tell you that, hey, why don't you call up my friend? And I'm sure she'll love talking to you guys, correct? If I'm not able to reach there, then I'm in that process. Second, the other is I definitely would lay a lot of impetus on the TAT, correct? Because instant is on your mind. Instant is the real impact, correct? Again, when I say TAT, I'm putting up saying that a TAT for a fairer solution, correct? If I'm able to achieve that, that becomes a great matrix for me to go back to my stakeholder and saying that the reduction of this TAT has actually helped us to retain, X number of customers, X percentage of customers, which was erstwhile getting churned because of such queries. Correct? Right. We can also cohort queries. We also cohort queries on our side. We typically know that if someone's talking in a particular tone, particular sentiment, talking about a particular part of the product, they are more, prone to churning. Correct? So when I change elements of resolving those queries, be it TAT, be it the empathy levels of my response, correct? My initial product features, the training to the branch, so many factors go into that, correct? And we actually see that whether the same kind of queries are able to get me or retain me more customers.
Understood.
So I think from the service industry perspective, I would look at acquisition as well as retention as two business metrics to go back into my entire investment into the reputation management.
Understood. And finally, if you had to leave today's marketers with one mindset shift, right? What's the single biggest change they need to implement when they think about reputation in financial services?
I would go back to my own point that it's important for every marketer to realize that irrespective of where the person is dealing with you as a brand, you got to deal with the person and not with the tool. Correct? Right. I think if as a marketer we take back that when I am dealing with you, correct? I may be dealing with you through my mobile app or through a WhatsApp or through a ATM screen. But if I'm able to address to you as a person, I will be doing my job much better, correct? Than ensuring that something displays on my tool or display on my screen. So as a marketer, I think, like you said, we sometimes fall into this whole rut of tools and metrics and datas, correct? Which helps us identify the problem, but when we go to resolve, we get very tacky about things, forgetting that there is a human behind it. And right. I think today in the world, which is stressed with so much of different problems, evolved problems, which people are not able to translate into words, I think banking sector, which deals with money of the people, can do a much better job, in getting this aspect right for the customer to love the brand.
And that we have reached like the end of our session. I have added like a small session on reputation gut check. We call it reputation gut check, I think. So we'll throw a few phrases at you, and you give me the first word or thought that comes to your mind, right? Customer reviews,
Honest.
influencers in BFSI,
Careful.
okay, negative press,
Accept.
app store ratings,
Critical.
AI in reputation.
Evolving.
Great. Samar, thank you so much. This has been such a sharp conversation. I think all of your insights, we can actually turn that into a very, sharp playbook and, uh, give it to all the marketers, because every nudge of insight that you shared makes complete sense. And I think that makes complete sense, especially across the categories as well, especially in financial services. Thank you so much. And I hope you had a great time as
No,
well.
no, I had a fab time. I have never done a session on this topic, and I was really looking forward for this because honestly, I'll show the message that I sent to my CX head. I said that leave that I'm going on a podcast and I'm doing this, but for you who's leading CX as a team, you
Yeah.
should introspect on these questions. They're so beautifully drafted.
Right.
Correct. So I really loved the way you thought about on this session. I love doing this session. Correct. A lot of introspection for me also. Trust me, a lot of things I have noted down while I was preparing something on this. That what we
Right.
should do to ensure this, becomes a much better place that we work in. So thank you so much for inviting me. And yeah, I mean, amazing session.
Thank you so much. And to everyone listening, I hope this entire talk gives you a new lens on how you can approach reputation in your own business. And we have a lot to cover in the upcoming sessions. Keep watching the Marketing Stack 2025. Thank you.